Okay, we're streaming and recording.
And we're ready to go. So I will welcome everybody to the February 1st Board of Selectmen meeting. And before I start, a couple of announcements there. One, Mark might be a little bit late because it's his mom's birthday. So we might all want to wish her a happy birthday when we see her or on Facebook. The second is I'd like to offer the town's condolences at the loss of Stephen Gaudette, the son of Joyce and Cole Gaudette, the late Cole Gaudette, who passed away recently. Young man, great guy, and it was obvious by the testimonial that was given by the numbers of people that were out into the street at the funeral parlor this afternoon. So anyhow, so for everybody's knowledge, Stephen has passed away. Opening comments. Josh? Hello?
Josh, we can't hear you.
Sorry, how about now?
Yep, there you go.
All right. Winter parking ban is in effect until March 20th, 2023 from 12 a.m. midnight to 6 a.m. Visit the parking clerk page at nahant.org or nahantpolice.org for more information. The town elections will be held on April 29th, 2023. Nomination papers are available in the town clerk's office and are due back by Friday, March 10th, 2023. A full list of open seats can be found on the election page at nahant.org. The town is now accepting, or I should say, we're now accepting applications for the Bob and Janet Munley Memorial Scholarship. Applications are due by May 15th, 2023. Visit the scholarship page at nahant.org for applications and more information. And, that's all we have for opening comments.
New business?
Can I add 2 opening comments? Mr. Chairman,
Pardon?
may I add 2 more opening comments?
You may.
The town hall, the fire department, DPW are going through a phone system upgrade project, and the last day and a half we've had a lot of challenges with that transition of porting the old numbers into our new phone system. So we apologize for anyone that's had trouble getting through to the town hall. I have a follow-up meeting with the company tomorrow morning to figure out, whatever fixes need to occur to make sure that project gets done correctly. And then I also wanted to just mention there was an active fire this past week at Ocean View Function Hall on Willow Road, and Chief Antrim, firefighter Nick Papagallis, and firefighter Matthew Canty were first on scene, and then a number of other firefighters, full-time and call firefighters, plus departments from our neighboring communities came over to assist. Because of the swift response by Chief Antrim and firefighters Papagallis and Canty, they were able to contain that fire fairly quickly and prevent even more significant loss to the building. So they did an excellent job, and I just wanted to commend them on that response.
Excellent. That's outstanding. Had heard from several people made some comments on how well that was handled. So
Yeah.
you'll pass that along for us?
I will.
Yeah, good to hear.
Definitely. Okay, ongoing business. One thing that, Tony, I've had a number of people ask when we're going to return to the town hall. for our traditional meeting schedule. Do you want to speak to that? I'm sorry I didn't bring this up earlier, but it just kind of, it hit me.
Yeah, I'll speak to it. I would suggest that we don't vote on any changes because it's not on the agenda. But I believe the current open meeting law version expires in March or April of this year and would require legislative action to allow us to meet remotely like we have been beyond that expiration date. Without that, we'll have to go back to traditional open meeting law standards and setup. Even if they do extend it, we have the choice ourselves to go back into person if we want to. I think that the biggest challenge is we can only really do a hybrid version. And again, so long as it's allowed under the law, we can only do, technically, we can only accomplish a hybrid version in the conference rooms of town hall downstairs. We can't accomplish that in the main hall upstairs. So if we were, to have public meetings in the main hall, it would be, to participate, you'd have to attend in person. Certainly we would still broadcast them, but you wouldn't be able to interact with the board remotely in that setup. So there's some, technical aspects that you have to consider when making that decision. And then also, the public outreach aspect of does the remote setup, do we reach more people? Are we providing more access to people by doing a remote setup, a hybrid setup, or an in-person setup? So there's a couple different factors that we can consider if we want to make a change. But as I said, come March, I think it's March or April, if the legislature doesn't extend the remote capabilities through legislative action, then the decision is made for us and we have to go back to only in person. But I'll repeat myself. If we were to go in person, we would still broadcast the meeting so people can tune in from home. They just can't participate from home.
Okay, that was my next question. Thank you. So audio video would be the follow-up to that because it's not that good in the town hall. Don't we have some funds to bolster that system? To
Yeah,
upgrade it?
we got some CPC grant funds last town meeting to do some audio and lighting upgrades in the main hall. We're still working on that project. We're hoping to have at least some of the significant audio upgrades done before town meeting in May. But I don't think in the past when the Board of Selectmen met in the main hall and it was broadcasted to local TV channel and YouTube, I don't think there was a lot of issues with audio or visual. With the microphones and that setup, it worked pretty well.
Yeah, I would agree. It's, the audio problems were more when we tried to fold Zoom into the equation, right, early on. And, but for the pure meeting in town hall and broadcasting on the TV, I think it worked pretty well. It's been a while since we've done that, but I guess I'd just point out that, really these Zoom meetings are the exception from the tradition due to the pandemic. And, I like the idea of returning to town hall. I think, as you pointed out, Tony, the Zoom meetings provide some convenience, for people that choose to participate. They can do it from home. And frankly, provide some convenience for us too. We could be remote, for example. But you lose a little bit, I think, this way. So yeah, I think Gene, as chairman, I think the decision is yours. I like the idea, honestly, of returning to the in-person meetings.
Well, even though I have that power to make that decision or request it, I'd like Tony to give it some thought and us to do the same, and then maybe at the next meeting, discuss it a little bit. But I think for now, I just wanted to bring it up, put it out in front of us and see how we respond to it.
We can add it to the agenda for the next selectman meeting, and in the meantime, I can speak to each of you individually and get your pulse on it, but I could have it added to the next Board of Selectmen agenda for discussion.
All right, great. Hey, is Dan on?
No, Dan is in the
Sure.
Dan is
Sure.
in the short-term rental committee meeting.
Okay. I was just gonna talk to him about airplanes, but we can wait for the next meeting on that. I wanted to find out if that RNAV program is going into effect and when. A lot of complaints on air traffic noise in the last month. So I thought it would be worthwhile having that discussion. But other than that, I have no other ongoing business or new business. Josh?
No, I don't have anything to add.
So we'll go to Preserving East Point. Anything there?
We do have a vote to take under ongoing business. It's the execution of the deed regarding the portion of Antigua Way.
Yeah.
So I could read a motion and one of you can say so move.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be appreciated.
So the motion would be to move to execute the deed regarding the portion of Antigua Way, Nahant, Mass, purchased by the Cadilles to consummate the transaction.
So moved.
Discussion?
Would you mind seconding, Gene?
I said, oh, seconded. Discussion?
Just a reminder that town meeting voted to approve the sale of this, or allow the selectmen to put this sliver of property, which is essentially the front steps of the Cardilli's house. And we've talked about it a few times in the past, but it's a small strip of land that encroaches on the paper road, but not on the real paved road. It went out to bid. The Cardilli's made the only bid, and we accepted that bid a few meetings ago. And so this is to execute the deed.
Okay, if no further discussion, roll call vote.
Josh Antrim, aye.
Gene Canty, aye. We were talking preserving East Point.
All right, well, we are coming up in a week. Today's February 1st, 2023. And we're coming up to a big milestone. It was February 8th, I think, 2018, when a presentation was made at Town Hall about development of the natural resource zone area at East Point. So it's been 5 years since that presentation was made, and a lot has changed in the past 5 years. Tony was a newly hired town administrator, and neither you or I, Gene, were on the board, and neither was Mark. But one thing that has not changed is that East Point remains the same. undeveloped, and the town has demonstrated over and over again our commitment to preserving this land as conservation land. And so we're at a significant milestone of 5 years now, and it's my hope and goal that is 5 years out of forever. So although things are quieter now, our commitment remains just as strong as it was 5 years ago, and we're now heading into an important phase of the eminent domain case. The deposition dates have been set for those from Nahant that are being deposed, and these next several months are an important few months where the case before the court now is a claim of bad faith taking by Northeastern, saying that the conservation of that land is not a valid public purpose, which of course we disagree with that claim. And that claim has been made in many other cases and supported, but nevertheless, it's an important phase. And so over the course of February and March, a number of people will be giving depositions in support of that litigation. So that's the most significant thing that's happening right now. So stay tuned. It's going to be a big 3-4 months coming up.
Do we have any reason to have any meetings with the attorneys to get their update? And thank you so much for that update.
Well, the attorneys, I believe, will be meeting with the folks that are being deposed. The judge has limited the number of folks that the Northeastern is able to depose. I talked about that a few meetings ago, but for those that didn't hear it, they had asked to depose quite a few people, like a couple dozen or so, and the judge said, that's overreaching. You can choose you can choose one from the current Board of Selectmen, one from the past Board of Selectmen, the current or former town administrator, one from the former liaison committee, and a few others. So those folks will meet with lawyers and just kind of prep them on, the lawyers will prep them on what kind of questions might be asked and that sort of thing in advance of their depositions.
Great, excellent, thank you. Tony, Town Administrator's report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to start by saying today we got an encouraging email from BEMA regarding our HMGP grant application for short beach dune restoration and climate change preparedness. That's a little bit north of a $3 million grant application. The good news we got was that MEMA included it in their package of grant applications that they are sending up to FEMA for review. So we surpassed, I guess, the first major hurdle in the grant application process. So we still have a long way to go, but that's encouraging news that we're moving to the next step. As far as development of the town meeting warrant and budget go, we've met with all of our department heads where union negotiations are continuing, and we're hopeful that we're going to be able to present a solid balanced budget at the next Board of Selectmen meeting, or potentially the one after that, to get it to Finance Committee, who's already been meeting regularly, and we're in the full swing of preparing for the upcoming town meeting. Yesterday was the deadline for any citizen petitions, and we received one citizen petition for a short-term rental bylaw. I've shared that with the short-term rental committee and the planning board and the finance committee. As you know, the short-term rental committee is charged with producing their own article for short-term rental bylaw to be voted on at town meeting. So they'll have some work to do there, and we'll have to work on how that will, be presented at town meeting. The Community Preservation Committee deadline is also passed last Friday. The town submitted, from the town of Nahant, from the Board of Selectmen in my office, we submitted 2 CPC articles. One for Kelly Green's golf course for tree planting and restoration of the pedestrian bridge over Bear Pond, as well as installment of new bridges for future stormwater work that we're planning on doing. And the other one was for rights of ways. That's something that we discussed as a group in these Board of Selectmen meetings a few times. So that funding would be to help pay for the professional services to help us with the title research for right of ways throughout the town of Nahant. So that's a phased project that, multiple phases of each individual right away takes a lot of work. But we're trying to get all the title research done, hopefully create some sort of user-friendly interactive map or user-friendly information on our website so that our residents are aware of where those rights of ways exist. And that's what that application would help pay for the professional services to develop that. We also received our initial plan set for the Ward Road pump station rehabilitation project there. We're on track with having those plans finalized in the next few months, and then we'll go to permitting and bidding over the summer, and hopefully construction fall and winter. This is a major project made possible through town meeting vote authorizing the town to fund through the state revolving fund using DEP funds. And it's part of our larger overall sewer infrastructure projects related, including the Linway sewer main replacement project, which is done, substantially complete. We still have some final restoration and paving to do in the spring, but the Linway project is completely done. And the next major capital project of that overall long-term plan is the Ward Road pump station. So we're making some progress there as well. I want to quickly touch on coyotes. This past week, I was able to meet with Nahant resident Francine and Rebecca Dimitrik, I think is how I pronounce her name, from California, to talk a little bit about some of the proposals that she's put forward towards helping the town work on preventative measures and public education related to, preventing conflicts with coyotes. It was a pretty positive meeting, and waiting on a proposal from Rebecca. At this time, we haven't signed on to anything. We're just, listening in on what she's proposing to the town. And I'm just waiting for a formal proposal, but it was a productive meeting. And as far as what where the town is regarding problem animals, with the USDA Wildlife Service professionals are working in under the terms of the cooperative services agreement that we have. Their work is addressing a significant issue in our community, and we won't be releasing further information due to the ongoing nature of the effort in the interest of public safety. But I do think that continuing the dialogue and conversation about non-problem animals and education and preventing conflicts is important. As we've always stated, it's most of what the town is focused on. So just wanted to give that update as well.
Well, you know, just a comment on that too, and that is it's always a good thing if you can get several groups to agree or meet to agree on things. And I applaud your efforts to get them together to discuss what's going to take place in the future. Based on your meeting, what are some of the things that they're putting out there, if you can discuss it, in terms of how they want to educate or re-educate the town on coyotes?
Well, you know, there's still a lot more ways to go. We got a very high level, you know, description of those proposals. I think that, you know, what I took away from that meeting was that, you know, the town has done a good job at the education piece, where Rebecca's services come in that we aren't able to accomplish on our own simply because we don't have the resources. Oh, I'm sorry, I see Selectman Cullinan just joined us.
Hey, Mark.
Hi, everybody. Sorry for being late. I was
No
out
problem.
celebrating my mother's 93rd birthday, so.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Awesome.
We're in the town administrator report, and Jean was just asking me, I gave a quick update related to coyotes in my meeting with Francine and Rebecca. And Jean was asking me, you know, from that meeting, what did I learn, you know, as far as proposals from Rebecca on what the town could be doing. You know, there are definitely elements of education, elements of getting the word out that I think Rebecca and Francine admit, you know, that the town has done a lot of work on that, a lot of effort there, and there's always more to do. I mean, you know, making sure that people are constantly on top of this issue and understanding their responsibility as a resident and a pet owner are big pieces of that. We talked a little bit about the bylaw preventing feeding of wildlife that we plan to include some version of for the upcoming town meeting. And what I was just saying was, you know, a lot of what I got from the proposal from Rebecca is, you know, she has the services that she can provide have a lot to do with investigating different events that occur in town related to coyotes. And by investigating those and following a plan, you could potentially prevent conflicts from occurring. You know, the town of Nahant has a part-time animal control officer. So we rely heavily on the residents reporting to us when they have any sort of encounter or sight or you know, conflict. You know, we count on them to report it to us, and most of the time they don't. You know, most of the time it's discussed through other means of social media or whatnot, and we don't have somebody that can constantly be keeping track of all those social media posts. Of course, when someone calls and reports something in, we follow up and investigate that with the questions that we were trained by Mass Wildlife. And if there's definitely been times where, you know, we see something on social media and we'll follow up on it as well, but we don't have the resources to do that consistently. That's where I think Rebecca's proposal, there's a void there that I think Rebecca's proposal fits in the most, is services of that, coupled with on the ground investigation work and speaking to neighbors, looking in the area, seeing if there's a food source, following up on a lot of that stuff, which could potentially help prevent conflicts from occurring. So, I don't know what the cost is going to be. That's, and further details, I'd rather wait to see the final proposal, but, that's where I think, of course, the town could do more in that regard. We're limited by our resources. So right now we're very dependent on residents reporting stuff directly to us. So that's where I hope, did I answer your question?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Speaking of reporting in, I had a phone call, anonymous call. I know who it was, so it's a reputable citizen saying that they spotted somebody going into the bird sanctuary with a paper bag. And after the person who carried the bag in left without the bag, he went in and scoured the area and found a mound of potato chips and peanuts and crackers and pretzels, and left and strewn about for the animals to eat, which obviously would be the coyotes. And that's just what we're trying to counter. And thanks for identifying all that in that short summary. But it's great to know we're going in that direction and we get people to join up with us. Josh, anything?
Well, I did want to make some comments on Tony's earlier, the reporting Tony gave earlier, which is on some of the infrastructure stuff, the Ward Road pump station. And it's, I think when each of the three of us ran for this position, we recognized some of the important issues, facing the town. And I'll admit, these things take a lot longer than I expected, honestly. But like any pursuit in life, if you stay focused and you just keep working at it, eventually you get there. So, the encouraging news about the coastal resiliency project at Short Beach, getting the Linway sewer main replaced over the past year. Next comes a Ward Road pump station this coming summer. The drainage ditch work that's been done over the past couple of years, the completed engineering study on the lowlands area, and we're putting in a warrant article for funding work on that area. The improvements that are in maintenance that's being done at the Bailey's Hill, Fort Ruckman area. All these things, the housing production plan that's being worked now with Mark. All these things were issues that faced Nahant and weren't given the priority that they needed. And like I said, although these things take a long time, sometimes I wonder, like, why is this taking so long? But I gotta say, it's really good to see these things starting to come together. And but we're gonna all keep our eye on the prize here and address affordable housing and all these infrastructure needs. And it feels good, each baby step, brings us a little bit closer. So makes me happy.
Great summary, Josh. Thank you. Mark?
No, I don't have anything, Mr. Chairman, other than to, support what Josh just said. I'm impressed with the progress that has been made. Some people don't think that the town administrator or the board of selectmen can multitask, but I'm sure, Tony, you evidence that you can multitask, and you've got a lot of balls in the air and a lot of things are being accomplished.
Thank you. Touche, for sure. Hey, Tony, just one thing that people have asked, and I'm not able to give a complete answer. The Dune project. Picture of how that's going to look.
Well, the dune, basically it's raising the height of the existing dune and widening the width of the existing dune to bring it to, 100-year storm height levels to prepare us, for that type of flooding. The other big part of the project is the access points and essentially making those more resilient. What happens today is you have a dune, at a certain height, and the access points are lower than the height of the dune. And so when we have those heavy storm surge, they actually act as almost like, doorways and blowouts. And so the water comes flowing right through those access points and erodes the edges of the dune there. It's problematic. So it's essentially, making that beach resilient to, 100-year storm levels.
Great, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Anything else, Tony?
No, thank you.
All right, Citizens Forum. Do we have anybody out there?
Yeah.
Nobody?
Yep, we have a few here. Hold on. Brandon, if you could just state your name and address.
Sure. Brendan Baronic Olmsted, 2 Summer Street. I actually have several items, so just kind of go through them. First is about the water sewer bill. I just looked at the bill I got today, and the total listed at the bottom of the bill is over $1,100 higher than the items listed on the bill. So that I think the math in the water sewer bill is a bit wrong.
Hmm.
And then the other item about the water sewer bill is I don't recall receiving a bill since June, so that I was a bit surprised to see I had missed a payment. But I can follow up with the water sewer department about that.
Well, on both issues, just come to the town hall and
Yep.
we'll iron them out. We'll work with you to iron those out.
Okay. I guess the next question was about the pump station construction. You mentioned that construction work would be done in the fall and the winter, and given we have really bad storms at times, is that the best time for the construction work to begin?
We talked a lot about that in our initial meeting. It's a great point. It would be fine. Our bypass setup would have to be, would take that into consideration. But essentially, all the work that's happening at the Woodrow pump station is internal. So it shouldn't be an issue, but we would have to take that into consideration related to any external equipment, which is basically would be the bypass system. So our engineers didn't seem too concerned. They thought we could handle it.
Okay. I had a follow-up question from a few weeks ago about, you'd mentioned about wanting to place additional conservation restrictions on public land. And I asked about the implications of if we were doing coastal defense projects or other restoration projects. Were you able to find out if if there was any impact on our ability to do that work?
We're still looking into a lot of different aspects of that article. So I don't have an answer for you yet.
All right. And now about the town hall and being hybrid, I was wondering if the town can look at their Zoom account to see if they have the ability to see how many views each of the Board of Selectmen meetings have had. That because that may give an idea as to how many people are participating, at least online. And I would strongly encourage if there's ability to maintain the online presence. I occasionally have to travel, and I'd like the capability of to participate if I'm away from home.
Well, yes, we can look at the number of views. It's not so much the viewing that would be impacted. It's more the second part of your point there, where it's the participation aspect. Certainly, if if the legislature doesn't extend our ability, then we don't have a choice. But even in that situation, it's traditional that the Board of Selectmen will take questions or comments by email ahead of time and then address them during a meeting. So if that was the situation that you were in, you could send your questions in ahead of time.
Okay. And I guess my last question is about the coyotes. You may not be able to answer this, but I had seen a photo that there's the bait station was set up. Are they have camera traps in order to have a sense as to if any coyotes are visiting the bait station?
Well, as I kind of mentioned earlier, we're not really going to be answering questions or releasing information specific to the ongoing program with USDA. It's an ongoing program, so at this time, we're not going to be answering those questions.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
I just want to write down, I'm sorry, I'm just writing down Brendan's question to work on coastal infrastructure. Okay, thank you, Brendan. Rochelle, could you just state your name and address, please, and unmute?
Hi. We've had no reported incidents of coyotes in the last 6 weeks.
Sorry, Rochelle, could you state your name and address, please?
I'm sorry?
Could you state your name and address, please?
Can I say my name? Is that what you said?
Name and address?
Yeah, Rochelle Capobianco, 131 Castle Road. As we've had no reported incidents of coyotes in the last 6 weeks, or, incidents, I should say, are you planning on continuing the indiscriminate killing of these coyotes? I know you're probably not going to be able to answer me, but I appreciate it if you would mull it over and let me know.
Michelle, you have some heavy background noise there.
Yeah, I've got my sons over here and their wives for dinner, so unfortunately, there's not much I can do. You can mute me once I'm done. I mean,
Do you have any other questions?
no, that's one for now. I might come back, but I think that's enough for now.
All right, well, it's an ongoing program. And we're following the lead of Mass Wildlife on this one. So, that's the answer I'm giving for now. Certainly, as we've stated multiple times, this isn't an effort of population control. It's a response to aggressive behavior. So.
But if the aggressive behavior has stopped or have subsided, what's the need for continued people coming in here and indiscriminately killing them?
Well, it's a public safety risk, and we're making a decision based on that public safety risk.
What evidence do you have of a public safety risk?
We've discussed this multiple times on multiple
ad nauseum
meetings.
Yeah.
And we've answered those questions multiple times. We've had incidents in town that we've investigated. We've reported that information up to Mass Wildlife, and Mass Wildlife has identified a problem that we have to solve in the mindset of public safety. And that's what we're doing right now.
Okay, so since October, there's been no incidents though. So October, November, December, January, February, 4 months.
Well, like I said, it's an ongoing program, and we're going to follow the lead of Mass Wildlife. I understand. I mean, obviously, I understand that you have a difference in opinion of how we're handling the situation. The activity of coyotes as it's been stated multiple times, can spike and dip throughout the year. We had incidents in the late spring, early summer of coyotes taking pets off leash, and then we had months of 0 incidents, and then we had aggressive behavior occur again. So, you know, we're taking that information, providing it to the experts at the state, and following their guidance.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Yeah, I'd just like to add, Rochelle, that, you know, this was not a pleasant decision for us. You know, something we deliberated for many months. And as Tony said, consulted with the experts. It's not something that, you know, it's something that we regretfully need to do for public safety. And now the program is in place and ongoing, but the decision's made, and it's not going to be reversed.
All right, Francine, again, if you could just state your name and address.
Hi, Francine Amari Faulkner, 295 Nahant Road. Can you tell us what the end date for the program is?
No.
I don't have an end date right now. No, our contract with USDA is, I believe it ends, technically our contract currently ends at the end of February, but we've been in open conversation with them about how that date might fluctuate. So we don't have a, that date might change.
Okay, so well, as you know, I completely disagree with the decision based on extensive reading of FOIAs and reports and police reports. I know the decision was made unilaterally, not democratically, when you took the advice from Mass Wildlife. So I just want to put this forward. I'd like to ask you guys to consider a new vote to stop the plan, because at this point, it's clearly not needed. There's probably 3 coyotes in Nahant right now. There are no incidences. These are not problem animals. They're not a public safety threat, and that's pretty much established and proven. And I'm going to say it, even though it's unpopular. We combed through the reports. There is potentially 1 dog that was taken off leash, and it was near a food source. So, as you know, the coyotes do not naturally go after dogs for food. They see them as rivals. So I'd like to just ask you to consider and think about taking another vote to just end the program.
Francine, as you may or may not know, the open meeting law prohibits us from meeting outside of these meetings as a group. So what you're asking, we can probably do in the sense that we will meet individually over the next month with Tony, discuss what you're talking about in the direction that we want to go in, and then get back at this. But along with that, Tony appears to be making good progress, I think, with you and with Rebecca. And I applaud his efforts to do that, because it's something we said we would do.
And we're happy to share the information that we've learned. And I think Rebecca shared a lot of it with Tony. Happy to show you things to help you in any way we can to make a good decision. So I just would like to ask you to consider taking another vote and ending the program.
So, Francine, I'm not going to mute you, because I don't want to prevent you from responding. I don't want it to seem like I'm not allowing you to respond. But a lot of the information that you've put out on social media and a lot of the information you just stated is false, and not all of it. And some of it is exaggerated or altered because of your difference in opinion on how the town is responding to this issue. And I need to make that statement, because I get a lot of calls and questions and emails about, whether you are representing the town or not. And you know, you and I have had that discussion before, and I think it's important that you need to state that you are not representing the town and that that is not a fact, what you just said. A lot of the reports that you reviewed through public records requests do not say what you just said. And a lot of the recent events that occurred are not found in those public records requests because they were not documented on record, because the people who reported them did not want them documented on record in fear of being retaliated against by a group of people that don't want to see anything bad happen to coyotes. So respectfully, the town of Nahant is facing the town of Nahant, or the Board of Selectmen, have faced a public safety decision. And we have repeatedly stated that our main goal is to educate the public on how to coexist with coyotes. We do not want to eliminate coyotes from the town of Nahant. That is a false statement and a false sentiment being spread by people who are upset with the decision that we made, which is a public safety decision.
Excuse me.
When we reported the information provided to us that we investigated by, which was, so another misstatement is that we're almost being pressured into this decision because of false information. That's not true either. We've investigated the reports that have occurred with questions that we were, you know, trained by Mass Wildlife on the important information to ask and how to ask it to get true information from the person reporting it. And I can tell you that most reports that we investigate turn out not to be an aggressive event and actually end up turning into a conversation, an educational conversation with the resident, explaining to them, you know, what occurred and why it's not a threat and how it could be prevented in the future. When recent events occurred and the information we gathered was enough to report it up to Mass Wildlife, and Mass Wildlife found it enough to be a public safety threat to authorize us. So that's local government, state government, and then federal government all being on the same page on how we have to handle this situation. It's not because of inaccurate information. It's well vetted, well thought out, and it's a legitimate public safety threat that the Board of Selectmen and myself have a responsibility to look after the residents and their property of the town of Nahant. So I have to make that statement because a lot of what's being spread or said or talked about on social media is misinformation. And I understand why, and I understand there's a disagreement. But we're making a very difficult public safety decision that, as Selectman Antrim said, it's regretful in the sense that we don't want to eliminate coyotes, but we do have a responsibility to our residents, and we're going to keep moving forward. And we hope that we can come together with you and groups like you and Rebecca and get back to focusing on coexisting with coyotes and preventing conflict.
Okay, can I respond?
Maybe that, well, in my opinion, that's probably enough back and forth, but
Just, can I do a closing statement, Josh? Just because a lot of things were said about what I've said, and I at least would like to give me like 10 seconds.
let's make it.
I won't respond.
Can I just have a comment before you make a closing statement, Francine? I just want to quickly. So thanks for your comments, Tony, and thanks, Francine, for your comments. And I think, you know, regardless of the outcome of the USDA efforts, it's going to be vitally important. First of all, I admire your passion, Francine, honestly. And, you know, it's going to be vitally important for citizens like you to continue to work on this problem with the town. You know, the town you know, we've tried hard to get the message out to people, public meetings with the Dave Wiles, the wildlife expert, postcards about how to haze, handing out tools, multiple meetings discussing this issue. And, you know, honestly, the message hasn't been heard by everybody. And, you know, it's my hope that going forward that you will work with the town cooperatively, you and others, to continue to educate people and teach how to haze these coyotes, because this is not a problem that's going to magically disappear regardless of the outcome of the efforts of the USDA folks. There's coyotes in every community. They're right on the other side of the causeway. They're not going to come back. So this is going to be an ongoing effort. I hope you'll be part of the solution, working with the town going forward. So I wanted to make that plea.
Thanks, Josh. I plan to, and I think, you know, ultimately we all have the same goal, and we're coming from a place of caring, and I do plan to help and give my best. But everything I've said and everything I've ever put forth, whether it's on social media or just in a public meeting, which obviously I don't represent the town, is based on investigative research, getting over 700 pages of FOIAs, police reports, and the conclusions that, you know, and consulting with experts, not Mass Wildlife. And I'm really pretty disgusted with Mass Wildlife, with what I've learned through this whole process. They have their own agenda, and it's too bad. It's too bad it's not pro-animal or pro-wildlife. And I'm not the only one who would say that. So, Tony, I apologize if what I've done has been misinterpreted, but I have not put forth any statements that are not true or not based on research and discussions and consultation with experts. So my hope is going forward that, you know, we can all work together and I can be of service and of help best I can to the town. I just hope we can end this program. I think we've had USDA in. You know, they did what they did, and we can be done with it. Let's get it. Let's move on. Let's end it and move on. So please consider taking another vote and ending the program, and let's get on to the good stuff of training people and doing the positive stuff. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Francine.
Thank you, Francine.
Let
We have
me just
anything
say
else
that,
out there?
just
Good,
Mr.
Mike.
Chairman, my position on ending this program will be based on the advice from Mass Wildlife. When they tell me it's not a public, Nahant is not facing a public safety threat, then I'll consider it. But until then, I will not.
Okay. Margie?
Yeah, what exactly did Francine state that's untrue?
Margie, sorry, could you state your name and address, please? It's the standard protocol. Not trying to be mean here.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Margie Parisi, 15 Prospect Street, Nahant, Mass. What exactly did Francine say that's not correct? I'm just curious. You said.
Oops. Margie got muted. All.
I don't know.
So what exactly did Francine state that was posted that was untrue? That's what I'm wondering. Because you said she's spreading false information. So what exactly information is false that she's spreading? I'm curious.
Okay. Well, so obviously, you know, we're not going to engage in like a he said, she said argument about what's true and not true. What I said was that a lot of the information that was stated was misinformation. And as Francine said, it's based on, you know, the FOIA records that she and the research and working with experts, but not all of the information is in those FOIAs, in the records that she has. Like I mentioned, some of the recent incidents were not documented because the people who we, you know, spoke with didn't want to have them documented because of, like I said, they didn't want them documented because of a fear of retaliation. And quite frankly, sometimes, you know, there's a lot of people who have pets that might have an aggressive event with a coyote, but they don't want to see coyotes go either. But at the end of the day, the town has the responsibility to make a public safety decision. So for whatever reason, not all of the information is that we're dealing with, that we're working on mass wildlife with, would not be discovered in those FOIA records. And so, you know, making statements of we don't have legitimate aggressive behavior occurring wouldn't really be a fact, according to mass wildlife. Stating how many coyotes are in the town of Nahant is not confirmed, it's assumed. And most recently, you know, posting on social media that that USDA was going to be in town at a certain time was unconfirmed and not true. And that incident, you know, was a little frustrating to me because there was an active encouragement of interference with that program, which, you know, puts people in harm's way, potentially. Luckily, nothing was happening that day. You know, we understand that there are folks who disagree with the decision the town has made. It is not an easy decision, as we already stated, and we hope to work with those folks on educating the public and preventing those types of conflict between coyotes, those aggressive behaviors, from occurring again in the future, so that the town isn't put in this position again. You know, what we want is to coexist with the coyotes here in town and have a safe town for our residents and their pets. So, you know, I get a lot of what Francine, I'm not saying everything Francine said was a lie or intended, you know, to misinform. I'm saying it's not all fact. And I have to make that statement because folks have asked me, you know, is Francine working for the town? Because she's so passionate and, you know, has been working with the town for so long. So I just want folks out there to understand that, you know, there's other information that the town is working on and working with mass wildlife on. And again, we're making a decision based on public safety, but 99% of our effort and our goal is coexist with coyotes and prevent conflict. So hopefully I answered that question.
What else do we have out there?
I noticed the chat's disabled, Tony. Didn't know if we wanted to give people an opportunity to put something in the chat.
Well, just raise your hand, or if you click on your screen, there we go. Heather?
Hi.
Could you name and
Heather Goodwin, 22 Breezy Hill Terrace. I just want to publicly thank Francine because a lot of people don't speak up in town on issues like this. And you mentioned it, Tony, because of retaliation. And I just think it's brave for her to continue to, you know, try to find ways for the community to deal with the coyotes without killing them. I mean, yes, social media is bad. I mean, people say horrible things like they can't wait to see them killed. And as a community member, whether I support it or don't support it, it's really upsetting to see. So somebody who's like Francine, who's basically like fighting for the lives of animals, I respect it. And I just want to publicly say that because, you know, a lot of people say bad things to her, but you know, she's speaking up and she's using her voice, and a lot of people don't do that in town. So I just wanted to thank her.
great point, Heather. Thank you for saying that. And, you know, I've gotten a lot of comments and somewhat complaints about, the decisive rhetoric that occurs on social media, especially related to topics like these that can be very controversial. And, it's disheartening to see. And, I hope members of the community can respect others, opinions and differences in opinions. And of course, respect the neighbor and be polite on social media and out and about around town. So thank you for saying that, Heather.
Yes, thank you. Anything else out there?
And just raise your hand and
I just make one comment, and that was Francine asked us to allow her to close. And I think we did that in the interest of learning something new. We didn't learn anything new, but the one thing I do applaud is her efforts to work with us. So as long as we can go in that direction, I'm fine with her getting together with you, Tony, and anyone else who wants to work out some of the issues in this program. Anything else? Do we have any more on the chat line?
yes, Angela or someone on, hold on, iPhone. Announce your name and address, please.
Ellen Johnson, 66 Flash Road.
Okay, go ahead, Ellen.
So we're going to change topics to something a little more summary. Is there a problem with the buoys down at Tudor Beach?
No, there's no problem with the buoys at Tudor Beach. We love the buoys at Tudor Beach.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ellen.
Okay.
Angelo Parisi.
Okay.
You could unmute, announce your name.
I see Rochelle has her hand up, but I don't see Angelo having his hand up.
Vote in the chat.
Oh.
How much is this costing overall for the Coyotes? How much is the town spending?
Could you say your name and address?
Oh,
please?
yeah. Well, I'm Parisi, 15 Prospect Street in Nahant, Mass. I'm on the wrong one. Anyways, how much is the town paying for the Coyotes?
I think the base contract was in the $4,000 range. But it's an ongoing contract and will be.
So is it per visit that you're paying them, or is it just, we pay you for this? If they come twice, that's fine. If they don't come, they're still getting paid. Is it per diem?
There's a base contract, and then if it's necessary to, go beyond that base, then we would be charged, I think, per visit or per hour.
So when do we find out how much the town actually paid?
When the program is completed.
Okay, so then we'll find out, but I still don't understand how they're paying. Is it per the time they come in, that you pay them every time they come in?
So we have a base contract with them.
Yeah, but base is one thing, but it
$4,000.
But it goes up every time they come in?
If the program
A
needs
certain number of visits in that.
Huh?
It included a certain number of visits in that $4,000 plus contract.
Plus, so it's more than 4,000. We're
Yes.
assuming right now it's more than
I think it was around-
4,000.
I think it was around 4,800.
Okay. And so that's based on, and then you have to add how many times they come in. And if they're coming in and they're not shooting any, we're still responsible for paying.
Right.
Okay. So I haven't heard any of them getting shot, and some of us have gone around to those places and it doesn't look like I saw blood or anything. So I don't know how much, are they actually doing anything?
We're not gonna answer specific questions related to the ongoing program.
And I'm also thinking people might be feeding these coyotes because they don't want them to go to these places that they're, how do you say, trying to lure them in with rabbit calls and stuff. People might be saying, hey, I'll feed them so they don't go over here to get shot. That's what I'm thinking when you told me about someone going into the Audubon. I'm thinking, well, maybe that's their way of trying to protect the coyotes. I don't know. Because someone is feeding them.
Well, I hope not, because that would be a downward spiral effect of creating a coyote that would be comfortable with.
No, the coyote doesn't see the person putting the food down. They just put it down and walk away. I think
Right,
people
but
are doing
they
that.
become territorial over a
Oh,
food
what
source
kind-
area.
But coyotes are territorial. The alpha pair is territorial, so we know that. So, and people might be spreading food all over the place. That's why I'm thinking that these coyotes aren't going there.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. I mean, thanks for your input. We shouldn't spend too much time on speculation. We hope that's not happening, but anything's possible, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you know of it occurring, please report it to us and we'll investigate it.
Yeah, and you can put my name on the report too.
All right, thank you.
All right, bye.
Rochelle?
Hi, yes, Rochelle, 131 Castle Road again. This is a non-coyote question. Why is half of Castle Road paved and not the, just the north side, not the south side? Or vice versa, I don't know.
The portion of Castle Road from Flash to Bass Point was paved.
No, the other
years
one,
ago.
from Nahant Road up to Flash.
That's just a temporary repair on the trench that was dug for the National Grid pipeline, the gas line there. So we had them restore that trench in that manner because of how bad, that portion of Castle Road was.
So it's gonna stay that way? No.
No, the town has additional underground utility work planned for Castle Road.
Okay,
And once we complete that, Castle Road will be paved from curb to curb.
okay. Thank you.
Can you remind us of the timing of the curb to curb paving?
Well, it's dependent on the completion of that other underground utility. So we have some sewer work that needs to be done, and we also may be doing some stormwater upgrades in that area because of the study we just did. So, we're depending on that. Essentially, you don't want to pave a street and then dig it up,
Right,
a year later. So,
okay, thank you, thank you.
okay, anyone else?
I move that we adjourn.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Josh Antrim, aye.
Mark Cullen, aye.
Gene Canty, aye. Thank you, gentlemen.